So sometimes I think I don't have to say any of this, like, don't have to, but I think there's still a restrainer, there's still a bit of mercy. There is definitely an other side of the sword by putting what I believe out there, like as a warning to people. And I'm warning people that, like, I could just let nature run its course. I could, but maybe, one person will change their mind after hearing this. Um, so that's why I do it, but I could also be revealing the hand of the other side, which could also make people very fake and phony. But I gotta say, I was saying yesterday that I believe with the issue of immigration, it's a problem because people immigrate here and then, like, I've witnessed firsthand, they don't respect our culture. And our culture is that of love, the truth. We don't abuse our kids. We don't want to raise them in narcissistic environments. And they'd be like, oh, yes, you do. Not anymore. We don't want to do this anymore. Right. And the values and the culture in America, like, we don't want to do this anymore. We don't want narcissists breeding more narcissists. Not just we, like, God doesn't want narcissists breeding more narcissists. We don't want any more of this backwards culture, these enemies to love, right? So I was proposing perhaps it could be just like a clean sweep of like a financial situation and a redistribution based on the AI algorithm that you fall into. Maybe you're redistributed a certain amount of money that is like fair to you. Now, that was just my thought yesterday, but today I believe it could become something more psychological and more spiritual because I came across this video on Instagram. It was a woman who was heckling Kash Patel outside of, or like in the White House, and asking him why he's such a bitch for is, who Rao. And I'll just show you a clip of that.
Kash Patel, the American people want to know, how does it feel to be a cuck for Israel? Answer the question. Hearing what the FBI is doing on a daily basis.
Sorry.
You mean to serve the American people? You're serving Israel. Does it feel to be Israel's? You don't care about kids getting raped. The American people want to know.
So, then she goes out and then some guy is like, you're an idiot, calling this girl an idiot. And this would obviously be somebody who's like more satanic in nature.
Kids? You're an idiot. I'm an idiot? Really?
So you're an idiot. So I wonder to myself, these people in America, if like what they're coming up against, is it like, do we just like do we like fall into defeat? I don't think so. I also don't think that this is the right mindset because there's one military that controls the whole world, and with your faith, that is God directed. Now, there's a fake I country and there's a real I country, and the fake I country would be that of like the Satanism, and then the real I country are like the real Israelites. So these people that are kind of in the crossfires, they want to go against the fake I country. These are the Satanists. What are you gonna do? Like this, I'm not criticizing them. I'm just like looking at this behavior. They have so much more manpower over you. And there's like this anti clean sweep, like, I'm like, they're the clean sweepers, right? Like, we're not their victims, you know what I mean? Like, I understand that there's a fake I country and a real I country, and the fake I country, I'm like, I'm not their prey, I'm not their victims, right? Because I have faith. So when people get so emotionally reactive, I believe this could target them as somebody like without faith. So I had wondered in the past, because I'm what you call a dark empath. So I attract narcissists, and then I guess I give them judgment, and most of the time they go crazy, they kind of exercise their demons, and then, the chips fall where they may. I wondered at some point, it's like, if if I'm just like a litmus test as a human being, as a human spirit for bad spirits in other people, could it actually be something like a little bit more spiritual? Could it, I always wonder, could it be something that's more spiritual in nature? That if some AI and Holy Spirit was tracking the attitudes and the motives behind people that are after people like me, which is obviously being tracked, couldn't that be a means of judgment? Yeah, I think so. And then if people are so emotionally reactive to the evil in this world, would they be targeted as emotionally reactive and spiritually immature? Perhaps. Perhaps. So then there's this other video. This gentleman is saying that if you speak out against DJT, then you be silenced by the media.
I don't think people understand how scary this Trump situation really is. He is saying all networks that criticize him should have their license revoked. Gone.
All right, so this is another concept. This gentleman is obviously proposing it as like this is the worst thing ever. But in a spiritual sense, if you think about like who and what this man represents, there is a huge crackdown on immigration in America. He represents American people right now as a pinnacle sigil force for America. I found that some of the worst people I encountered, not all of them, because there's nothing wrong with being anti DJT, but I was like, these people who come into our country that are like making money and sending it back to their country, and or they're in our country, but they're trying to not assimilate and instead they're bastardizing our culture. Could there be some kind of like litmus test? Even when I visit with my dad's very pro DJT, and he asked me like, "Are you pro DJT?" And I'm like, I don't have like I'm trying to find the words. I'm like, "Dad, I am a millennial. Like I have no stake in the game." The way the economy is going, I'm like, I don't really aspire to retire or own a home. I was like, so I have no stake in the game. I was like, but if someone put a gun to my head and they were like, are you pro or anti? I would say I'm pro. But I don't really have any stake in the game. But I don't hate the dude. I don't get emotionally reactive surrounding this figure. But he does represent American values. This country is invaded, obviously. It's such a roasting pig over the fire. It does have a relationship with the fake eye country. The fake eye country, I don't understand myself to be a victim of, but all these other people are getting emotionally reactive as putting themselves in a category that is making them victimized against the anti you know who energy in the fake I country. ISRAEL, obviously. So I'm like, maybe it's going to be something more spiritual than that. If they put any kind of hindrance upon people who speak out, even in my family, we're not all pro DJT, but we're not like anti, right? Some of us will like roll our eyes and be like, whatever, dude. But we're not like sitting here emotionally reactive. But maybe that reveals a spirit in people. And I always wondered that about myself because if I'm like a micro affecting the macro, I would say I'm definitely like somebody who people for some reason always have to like bifurcate against, right? They have to like come to get to know me a little bit and then they have to decide whether they love or hate me. And that's just been a phenomenon that I've been experiencing. And then there's a phenomenon with DJT. Obviously, it's the stakes are higher because he's the president of the country. And I've gone back and forth, and I never really had like a strong emotionally reactive pro or anti. But I always found that it was almost like, not for me personally, but it's like perhaps he's a bit of a litmus test for the spiritual nature of people, whether they're emotionally reactive against him. That's a bad sign. And being emotionally reactive against the fake I country, the I country being is you know who, small hat, Rael. And I'm like, what do these people think they're going to do? What do they think they're going to do? And perhaps a lot of them feel like they don't really have anything to lose. I, for one, find something salvageable about this world. I, for one, am like enjoying my life. I, for one, understand the mechanism of Satanism, and I understand that I'm not the victim of Satanists. I'm not the victim, right? I'm not their prey. I'm not the victim because I have faith. I have faith. I have security within my own faith. So to be emotionally reactive about DJT or the fake eye country, I don't. I wouldn't. But as time goes on, if it gets weirder where people are starting to get persecuted based on their vocal disavowing of these figures, I believe this is just like leading up to the spirit of the Antichrist. But the Antichrist is sort of the term is sort of a joke because how much Christ could the anti if the Antichrist could anti-Christ? He can't. So this is why the Antichrist isn't really the Antichrist, because how much Christ could the anti if the Antichrist could anti-Christ? He can't. So this is like the folly nature of the Antichrist narrative. So I believe it's kind of like a micro building up to a macro of the appearance of the Antichrist, in which the country could be pure, I don't know what the right word is, persecuted in a sense. Some people would say it's the worst thing ever and they would rather be persecuted. I, on the other hand, understand that like my faith is greater and I plan on surviving all of this. I plan on trying my best. This right here is like giving mercy. Like, I don't have to tell anyone what I think. I could just let the sheeps all go to the slaughter, or I could share a thought and then maybe at least one person would consider differently, because sometimes you fall into the mind virus of the media and it's like emotional reactivity, and sometimes you can learn that this is actually the mechanism of a harvest collecting technique. They're just trying to collect a harvest, like the media wants to collect a harvest. So, the death of Charlie Kirk was a big harvesting collecting technique. It was a big bifurcating technique nonetheless. And I don't believe in death. I believe that the soul lives on. I believe perhaps these are Martians and perhaps Mars is being colonized. I believe in life extension technology. I believe in stuff that is kind of out of this world, but that's just me. That's just me. So if I can take what I understand to be true and share a little bit with you and share a little bit of my thoughts, then I believe it's like a little bit of mercy. But sometimes I'm like, I won't stop, right? I'm not going to stop until I probably disappear into a rescue mission of some kind, if that ever even came to a point. Yeah, T's like, it's like, I don't care about either. Like, I'm not like gonna sit here and be like, oh, I'm so against, these people, when I'm like, what am I gonna do? And then also, I don't think to do anything because my life is pretty heavenly. My day to day life is pretty heavenly. I've already gone through trials and tribulations. My life now is pretty heavenly. I don't have anything to complain about. And I think that's what my economy is. It's also other women who don't have anything to complain about. So when we see this stuff, it's like emotional for a moment and then it passes. And then on with our lives because we have bigger fish to fry, right? We got mouths to feed, we got money to make, not in our ignorance, but in our faith. Like in our faith, we see that there is a very heavenly situation that is being formed out of a very doomsday type scenario that other people are falling for. Yeah. Alrighty, well, that's it for now. Check you later. Have a great night. I'll talk to you again really soon.